For the past 30 years, the ANC never had to worry about losing elections. They never worried about losing power because they could just wake up, go to elections and win. Majority of the black South Africans believe in the ANC. They believe in the promises that the ANC is coming up with. But that was until Jacob Zuma decided that I am finally going to challenge the ANC and form my own political party, which is the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. Since losing the outright majority, most of the ANC leaders would never go to the public and admit that our major problem was Jacob Zuma. They can come up with a lot of excuses telling us about the fact that the voter turnout, this or that, but they would not go as far as saying that our major problem was Umkhonto weSizwe Party. Well, finally we have heard from one of the ANC leaders, Gwede Mantashe. He was speaking at the memorial service of Membathisi Mdladlana, and while speaking, he had to admit that one of the major problems of the ANC was the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. Please listen.
As a result of the loss and the losses incurred in KZN and Gauteng, eButwalo, pa eKZN sicelwe intangakho. Sicelwe intangakho uJacob Gedlehle Zuma. Now, wasicela pa kodwa our people were going to the voting station benxibe t-shirt ANC batyukutyaba kwe-ANC bavotele MKP. Was better sathi sapha wakatsa thina wakatsa kwalonkata.
The only solution that the ANC had for this problem called Jacob Zuma, this problem called Umkhonto weSizwe, the only solution for the ANC was to deny giving the MK Party KZN. MK Party was the cause of ANC problems. They had to make sure that they make Zuma pay for what he has done to them. In the end, we have something called the Government of National Unity, without the Economic Freedom Fighters and without the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. The ANC had no choice but to work with the Democratic Alliance. Now that partnership that the ANC decided on, some of the leaders of the ANC are quietly rejecting it. Well, someone who's speaking in public is Panyaza Lesufi. He doesn't agree with this combination of ANC and the DA. He doesn't see himself working with the DA. That is why in Gauteng, he made sure that the DA will not play any role. And Helen Zille is not happy about that. Panyaza says that you can work in the national, but when coming to the province, no one is going to tell us what to do. So far since the formation of the GNU, one thing that we have noticed is that the DA will always defy the ANC. They've done it in many cases. They've done it with the Bella Bill, and now what they are doing, especially this week, is to show that we are not really going to agree with anything that the ANC wants to lead. We are only going to accept any idea of the ANC once they call us to the table, speak to us, and we decide on a conclusion. The ANC is not going to be a leader. They are the majority in the GNU, but because we are number 2, ANC will not make any decision without us agreeing on that. Let us look at these two latest incidents. Ramaphosa goes to Russia for BRICS, and while there, he speaks to Putin about the GNU and thanking him that you are our closest friend. Russia was one of those countries that helped us during apartheid. Back home, John Steenhuisen decides that since Ramaphosa is speaking for us, we are also going to defy him. He goes on to Twitter to send a message saying that whatever that Ramaphosa says does not include the DA. He is not representing us because what he's saying, it is not our feeling. The second incident, Paul Mashatile goes to say that we have decided on the national dialogue date, which is going to be in December. He goes to the public, addressing the media to speak about that.
There will be a special cabinet meeting next week to deal with the issue of the national dialogue. The cabinet agreed yesterday. And the reason why we will have a special meeting of the cabinet because of the time frames in terms of the proposals The first sitting of the National Dialogue will be on the 16th of December. That will be the inaugural meeting in terms of the proposal. So we felt the sooner the Cabinet discusses the matter, the better. But the real dialogue is proposed for next year.
And on the other hand, Helen Zille hops onto Twitter. She says that we have agreed that the decision will be a joint initiative. The ANC cannot go on public to say that this is what we are deciding on as if they've won elections. We are part of the GNU. We need to sit down and have a conclusion. The ANC cannot just go to the public. They cannot just go to the media and announce that we are finally having a national dialogue, whereas they have not made a conclusion with the GNU partners, one of those partners being the Democratic Alliance. From these examples, it is clear that the DA will never let the ANC rest. The DA knows that the ANC have lost the elections, and for them, they are not going to treat the ANC as if it is the same party that was ruling for the last 30 years. They are going to give them the taste of their own medicine. But one thing the DA is not careful about is that they are not the only option in parliament. If the ANC is careful enough, they could go back and say that if you are not willing to work with us, if you are going to try and embarrass us each and every chance you get, maybe we should drop you. Maybe we should put you aside and find someone who's going to replace you. It is just 100 days since the GNU, but already we are having a rocky start. The DA cannot really justify the fact that they are going to embarrass the ANC each and every chance they get as if there is no alternative. They must know that there are a lot of alternatives. One of those alternatives is the EFF and the Umkhonto weSizwe party. So if the DA does not want to work with the ANC, maybe they should step aside. And perhaps the conversation that we must have is that if the DA continues to defy the ANC each and every time, they risk losing on the GNU. You are not even 1 year in that organization called the GNU, but already you find pleasure in trying to defy the president. It cannot be the DA that you've always wanted to be in power. You finally get that power, and when you get it, you are trying to be the bigger one. It cannot be. I think the DA will not really last in the GNU. We should give them just 2 years to say that in these next 2 years, if you survive, we are going to give you much more votes than we've given you in 2024. The DA will not survive the next 2 years. If they continue the way they are continuing, if Helen Zille continues to be that person who's always defying, who's always throwing her toys around, if Steenhuisen continues to work in the manner that he's working, acting like Helen Zille, throwing his toys around, disrespecting the president, one thing that is going to happen is that we are going to see the DA being kicked out of the GNU. And if that happens, they will never, in their entire life, ever realize governing again. The only chance that the DA is getting is today. If they don't work on that, if they play with that opportunity, they are risking losing. And if they lose, it is going to be good riddance, because you have always wanted power. You get that mini power and you are abusing it. Maybe that is a lesson to the ANC to say that get rid of corruption, get rid of useless ministers, get rid of these cadres that you want to deploy, but you know that they are not adding any value. Once they get that into their skull, maybe, just maybe, in 2029, they can redeem themselves. But until then, it is the ANC and the DA. And the question is, will the DA survive in the GNU? My own opinion is that they will not survive. It's either they are going to pull out or the ANC will try and say that we are no longer working with the DA.